Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about how we can execute multiple commands on the Linux command line. So far, while we've been doing chapter 1, it does look like, yes, we can only type in one command. For example, we type in date or we type cal, and then these commands are executed one after the other. But it turns out that Linux allows us to type in multiple commands on the same line, and that's super convenient. The way to do that is to type them and on the same line but separate them using a semicolon. And so I do date semicolon cal, and as you can see, both these commands are executed in the order that was given. So that is so the date gets displayed, and also the calendar that gets displayed. So I can add, in fact, I can go ahead and add another command. So as you can see, I've typed in 3 commands. So it executed the date, and then the calendar, and then the date again. So so another thing that we're going to do is you see 4 commands. So I can have multiple commands, and as long as I separate them with a semicolon, then Linux is going to just take this commands and execute them one after the other. So if I'd like to perform a couple of functions at a time, then I can actually, this is a good way for us to get introduced to how to do programming. This is a foreshadowing of script programming, in that we can just have a sequence of commands that we can give to Linux. Now, one thing that we also can do is we can look at all the commands that we have executed in this particular session. So I can do that by type the history command here, and that is by entering history, and this command will show me a list of all the commands that I have executed in this particular session, and all of this is actually stored in a bash file in my home directory. So the way the history command works is that every time I add a command, then it gets stored at the bottom of the file, and then when I execute the history command, then it just simply displays the list of commands that it has stored in the history file, right? So here I go, I type in history, and it looks like it's going to be a rather long list because we have commands. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to pipe this history command with more, because as you know, more displays a screen full at a time. This is another useful feature of Linux, in that I can pipe commands together. So the output of the history command is going to get fed as the input to the more command, and this is going to not just print all of the history commands, but it's going to pause after every screen full, and that's what the more command does. Right, so as you can see, I have actually been working, and I have maybe about 100 or 150 or 200 commands that I've typed so far. So, but more actually pauses at every screen full. If I'd like to move through this, then I can simply keep clicking the down arrow, and that'll take me or I press enter, and then this will keep going down one command at a time. But if I'd like to go one screenful at a time, then I press the space bar, and this will move by the screenfuls. So that's an easy way for me to move faster. And here are the commands that we just entered. The date, cal, clear commands, the ones which are separated with a semicolon. And as you can see, the command, 150th command, is date semicolon cal. So just like you to make a mental note of this command, and for example, let's say this was a command that I wanted to go back and execute, then now I know what the line number for this command is, and I make a note of that. So what I'd like to do is now I'd like to break out of this command, right? And the way to break out of the command is to do Control C, and once you do Control C, it breaks out of this. And now I would like to execute that date semicolon cal command, which was on line 150. So I just go ahead and put an exclamation mark followed by the line number of that command. And as you can see, it has gone and to that particular command in the file and executed date semicolon cal. So this is a great way for us to search by line number and execute commands by line number. Yeah, and this is a very useful feature because sometimes you could be working for a long time on the command line and you may have been struggling with the command and that's not working, and then finally you got lucky and the command actually started to work, and maybe a little while later you did not make a note of that command, but now you'd like to go back and execute it or look for the correct syntax. Then the history pipe more is a very good way of jogging your memory and then locating the command that actually worked for you, and then if you want to execute it again. So so you can reutilize your commands in that way, and you can store them and recycle them. The last thing that I would like to add is how to find help on the system.